pleasure to welcome you to the Photonic Energy Center, and it's my pleasure. I'm Adam Abraham, for anyone who doesn't know yet. We are honored to be here and present and able to shed some light on the subject of energy fields and our relationship to it, their relationship to us and to each other, and but even more importantly, the effects that they have on all elements of life. Energy fields are not limited to matters of what we call health. Health is very important to our life, but it's only an aspect. Our life is, and the well-being and the quality of it is measured in things other than the state of the body itself. It's the body of our experiences, and so integral to that is the question of the unfolding of experience, and if experience isn't the way you like it, is the how to unfold it in a way you like it, that you really resonate with. And so it's called manifestation. And it is with great pleasure that we welcome a man who knows energy in ways that most of us are still becoming aware of. And he has developed many methods and products that take in the dynamics and nature of energy in such a way to get the best out of it, so that we can get the best out of our experience. He's Rene Hamilton of Inner Soul Technologies out of Edmonton in the great country of Canada, and we are really pleased to have him here in Chandler, Arizona tonight to talk about manifestation, the dynamics of it, and some of the tools that you can use to make it even better. And with no further ado, here's Rene. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here today, and I have a lot to talk about on this subject. It's definitely been a lot of life's collaboration, a lot of experiences that led me to understand what I do about different forms of energy and manifestation, how the mind works and how my reality works, which I can come to some sort of conclusion that many people's reality works in similar ways. So with that said, this talk is about manifestation, and that's going to involve not only the technology in which I've developed. However, I'm going to talk about how the mind works and what its functions are, and how that works in conjunction with life force energy, quantum energy, and actually how our realities are formed in our own minds. And with that background in mind, you'll be able to understand more deeply at the levels at which this technology I've developed is working, and how that relates to manifestation and how to manifest things we want in our lives. So with that, you had mentioned the technology I developed, and I'm going to start with just showing you a bit of the technology, not necessarily on my other products, but more when we focus on the manifestation technology first and foremost, and then I'll get into the science of the mind and how manifestation works, at least in my reality, and you can take that and apply that to your own life and see how that may work for you. And I will introduce the Advanced Quantum Matrix Manifestation Plate, or as I said, the MP, the Manifestation Plate. And it appears to be I'm not sure who put that. This is your board, so mine's not red there. But, and mine doesn't have a piece of hair stuff on it either. Okay. So it appears to be a plate, three-dimensional, no batteries, no microchips, no power source, and has a really interesting and neat design here. It kind of looks like a game board with some knobs and dials. However, It's not just a colorful piece of artwork, it's actually a functional quantum holographic device. And what this board is designed to do is designed to take your thoughts and desires and manifest them into 3D physical reality in a very short period of what you would call time, even though time doesn't really matter in the realm in which it's working, but us being in this physical body experience thing called time. We have right here a desire pad, and we have here what's called a manifestation plate. So these knobs and dials are adjusted along with the operator using a certain technique with their hands to dial in any manifestation, anything they would like to manifest. It could be for well-being for another person, it could be for financial purposes, emotional, it could be for spiritual development, it could be for protection, it could be for energizing water, juices, it could be for making homeopathic remedies, many different things to bless objects. I have a group of people who are fairly religious and who use this for doing mass blessings, prayer groups and whatnot as well. So what this does in essence is we have designed this to amplify your thought forms and your desires billions of times more powerful than they normally are. And it does that by the special imagery and circuitry that is actually on this board. Now this board is loosely based on Dr. Hieronymus, who back in the early 20th century had designed a actual machinery that was used certain knobs and dials and copper coils and resistors and transistors and whatnot, and he used that in order to detect certain frequencies of soil types, certain minerals in the ground, and do that from a distance without having anything sort of electronically plugged into that. And this device became widely used in agriculture, which allowed farmers to administer certain pesticides to their farms, to their animals per se, without actually physically being there. It's almost like broadcasting a frequency of pesticide or remedy at a distance. And it was very, very effective and has been used in agriculture to this day. So this is loosely based on that. He also recognized that even by drawing the circuitry of his electrical plans on paper, actually did the same thing that the physical machinery did, which was astounded many people. So there's many accounts of very unusual phenomena happening merely by manipulating the drawing on paper and putting your will or manifestation on that, and things happening from that. I've taken it to a different level by incorporating my technology, my holographic quantum nanotechnology into a design which I have made, which is a very massive modification of Dr. Hieronymus' original design, and I made it into a light portable format, which does not need any light plugins or batteries or anything, so it's portable. And I also had a small mobile version as well, which you can stick in your pocket and carry with you. And so that being said, the big one here, the difference between the big one and the small one is obviously the size and the fact that one has knobs and the other one doesn't. This board right here, even though it appears to be a two-dimensional or three-dimensional board and has a two-dimensional image, is literally a limitation of your eyesight or perception. This actually exists on multiple dimensions and is actually a much bigger device, which actually depth to it that the average human cannot see because they're operating within 5 senses of reality and not necessarily operating on higher frequencies of dimensions. For example, it's been said that our brains are only capable of seeing roughly 1% of the spectrum of light that exists, and using, if we're lucky, 10% of our brains is probably more like 1 or 2%, if that. And likewise, being limited in the spectrum of light that we're actually able to see, microwaves and gamma waves and infrared and ultraviolet and whatnot, we're just not capable of seeing for many reasons. So that being said, this exists on different levels of frequency of light that we're not able to perhaps see. However, some people are able to perceive that, and I being one of them who's able to see different dimensions. So in that dimension, this is actually some complicated circuitry which is connected to very high levels of reality per se. So enough of the technical jargon there. I'll explain what this device does and sort of how it does it, and then I'll get into how the mind works and how that all ties in together. Now, normally when an average person would like to bring about a change in their life, people go about it in different ways. Some people feel that in order to have a change in their life, they need to physically go and make changes on a physical level and control the environment around them in order to produce the change in which they want. That could mean actually doing it in a laboratory setting, and that can be doing it through having others work for you. It could be through manipulating others to do things for you to get the results you want. It could be through buying someone, bribing someone, controlling someone, coercing someone, persuading someone, tricking someone, or some people do it by prayer, some people do it by meditation. All sorts of different methods are employed in order to get the results we want in life. However, that being said, there are stumbling blocks to us getting what we want, and that stumbling block is typically our own mind. And our own mind has certain default programs in them which prevent us from manifesting or having what we desire in life. And we have a lot of us in at least North American culture are compounded with, bombarded with on a day-to-day basis on how life is, how it ought to be, what is moral, what is ethical, what life consists of in terms of what you get in is what you put out, what you sow, what you reap, or reap what you sow. And some people believe in karma, and some people do not believe in karma. Some people believe that you can just go out and plunder. How your mind works is it literally, whatever you wish your mind to experience or happen, happens instantaneously, whether you're aware of it or not. And what I mean by that is our minds are reality generating machines. Our minds literally generate reality on the fly at all moments. And I'll give you an example of that. Let's just say that you're driving a car in a dark country road with no overhead lights on the street, just pure blackness. It's overcast, there's no moonlight, it's just pure black. And the only thing that's illuminating the road in front of you are your headlights, maybe 10 feet in front of you. Well, that's kind of how your mind works. Reality is the blackness, it's the emptiness. And your mind is literally projecting its reality about a few inches or feet in front of you. So as you're moving through life, it's generating life on the fly. Life is not already there and you're just walking through it. You're literally generating it as you move. So in essence, the floor below you, the skin in front of you, the moon, the sun, even the air you breathe is being generated by your own mind. Your mind's a reality reality generating machine. So when we speak about reality in the world and the way it is, what we're speaking about is our reality bubble, our reality, our generated reality. We think, however, that our reality is everywhere else. It's only located within our own mind. We have something in our mind, in what's called the third ventricle, in the middle of your forehead, right near where the pineal gland is. It's called the cave of Brahma. And you can almost think of it as like an IMAX projector screen that's in the middle of your forehead. And what's happening is your pineal gland is what's called your third eye. And that's actually a bioluminescent gland you have in the middle of your head. And it's almost like it's projecting reality onto that screen. And that screen is what we call reality. Okay? So reality is not outside of our skin, it's actually in our own minds, in our own head. So we're not viewing reality outside of ourselves, we're viewing it inside of our own mind. So even how we look to ourselves in the mirror and how others look to us in the mirror is literally happening inside our own head, almost like a holographic video game or a 3D reality video game. So reality is being generated by us. It's not happening to us, it's happening for us, by ourselves. So when we think about reality and things we want to get, things that we desire, we tend to think that it's out there in the world and we need to get it from the world. It needs to come to us somehow from the world, outside of us. However, reality is not outside of us. So even that concept that we need to attract it from outside of us is a flawed concept. And that itself prevents things from manifesting in your life, because your whole idea of how reality works is flawed from the core. So manifestations happen instantaneously in our lives. However, it's our own thoughts about reality and about how life works that prevent this from happening instantaneously. It's like, here's $1 million coming to me, but there's a block. That block is a thought that opposes the $1 million coming to me, because I don't believe $1 million can come to me that easy. So I think, well, it's got to be hard. You got to do a lot of intricate things to get $1 million in my life. So your life, you block the $1 million coming to you, or yourself manifesting it. So we have all these blocks built up, and these blocks are our own thoughts and how we have been born and bred to believe how reality works. You must work hard, you must put sweat and bones and tears into it, and you're a blue-collar worker, and you gotta really go to college and school and spend $50,000 or $100,000, get a college degree, maybe you'll get a job, maybe you won't. There's all these uncertainties about reality and where we're going and how to get what we want. Yet these are all stories. These are all stories that other people are telling us about our reality. But no one knows our reality, because we decide internally what our reality is about, not other people. If you let other people tell you what your reality is about, then you accept their limitations about how reality works to begin with, which then in turn will limit you even further on how to get what you want or manifest what you want. So our minds are reality generating machines. Now, what determines what you manifest and what you don't manifest? That we can call the ego or the sensor. The ego or the sensor is the part of your mind which limits information. It governs information. It's the governor. Okay? Now, govern means to limit, to control. Do you know what ment means? Ment means the mind. So government means what?
Control the mind.
Exactly. Okay? They're telling you what they're doing. Not that it's anything to be concerned about, just words speak more than what we think, right? So we are the government of our own minds. And what governs our own minds are our belief system. So what are our belief systems built upon? On limitations. You can't do this, you can't do that. When I was a little kid, my friends would say, yeah, I have an imaginary friend, or my friend's Fred, or whatever, and their parents would be like, no, you're silly, blah, 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 blah. You know, really limiting devalidating their reality. And our realities have been devaluated, or devalidated our whole lives by one person or another, brothers, siblings, parents, school teachers, bullies, whatever, media, TV, radio, video games, you name it. As a consequence, our realities are built around these invisible barriers, our own mind government programs, okay, which are limiting our minds or governing what we're capable of thinking or believing. So, in essence, our minds are generating reality. Now, people say to us, or people have told me, yeah, I think the mind's a pretty powerful thing. I think the mind's a pretty powerful thing. We're only using 8% of our brain, or 4%. They're thinking about that in the context of, here's reality, and our mind is this thing that's in reality, and it's a pretty powerful thing within reality. But what people don't understand is your mind is generating the reality that you see to begin with. So it's not a powerful thing, it's the most powerful thing. Because the floor you're stepping on is powered by your own brain. The sun beaming out there, which is an immense object, is powered by your own brain. The cells, the atoms of that sun are powered by your own mind that's projecting that in front of you. So it is the most powerful thing. So to think of your mind as separate from reality is a gigantic flaw. It is, your mind and reality are one. There is no separation. Okay? There's no separation between what I'm perceiving, whether it be this piece of artwork, whether it be my brother, my sister, a car, whether I'm looking at the planets. That's all part of my mind. So there's the illusion of separateness, of lack, of I'm here, that's there, therefore I'm lacking something. There's something more out there than there is in here. When that's flawed, because it's all in here, because you're generating it. Everything. So the whole idea of lack to begin with is flawed, because it's you who's generating it. Even the idea of lack, you're generating that too. So it's just one big circle. Our minds are designed to take the unlimited force of the universe, you could call it the creator force, whatever it is. Now think of it like a pyramid, like that, and then think of a one like that, and your mind is right in the middle. Okay, so you have a V, and you have a little dot, which is your mind, and you have another inverted V. So an unlimited power of the universe comes in by your mind, and is organized by your mind, and then projected out in front of you. Now, your mind, the job of your mind is to organize the unlimited power of the universe. If the unlimited power of the universe was unorganized, you would just be in a sea of unlimited power and unlimited nothingness. You'd be vaporized into the unlimited sea of energy. So in order to experience reality, your mind must organize the unlimited power of the universe into some sort of coherent pattern. Okay? So it takes the unlimited and it limits it in order for you to experience 3D reality. Or otherwise you just vaporize into unlimitedness. So that's the mind's function, is to take the unlimitedness and to limit it so you can learn lessons. In that process, we sometimes, or some people, believe they are the limitedness, versus remembering that everything's unlimited and their mind is just limiting the unlimited in order for this 3D experience to happen to begin with. That's where the confusion comes in. So our minds create a character for us to operate in this limitedness, to set us apart from something else, to give us unique individuality. So our minds create an image of a character. For me, the character is Rene. For you, it's Kine, for you, it's Kristen, Linda, and whatnot. These characters are not us. They're merely characters. I would give you the example of like the internet. There's this global thing called the internet, and we're all connected to this digital world of ones and zeros. Now, each of us connects to the internet differently. Okay? I have a Intel Pentium 4 computer with 4 gigs of RAM and whatever. I view the internet a little differently than you. Your internet is with a laptop and won't download programs to watch videos. Okay, so you view it differently. And you do go to the internet on their phone, and that's their access to the internet. Okay, that's how they view the world. However, are we our computers? No, we're operating the vehicle in which to view reality. We're not the computer itself. Now, you know there are people who have computers that are infected with viruses, that are running really slow, that have corrupt programs on them, that some viruses spread to other viruses and other computer systems. Some are really fast computers, some are really slow computers, some are mega supercomputers, some are some websites that trick you. So the better the software, the better the cleaner the software, the faster the computer, the more it's maintained, the better your viewing experience and experience of reality or the internet is going to be, right? So we have companies and people out there who wish to better the internet, better reality, and we have some people who wish to control it, put laws upon it, put conditions upon it, interrupt it, leak disinformation. Same thing with reality. So that being said, reality through our physical bodies is much like the internet. It's just a tool to experience this virtual reality, and it's not really, the body is just a vehicle. That's not what you are per se, as Adam wrote a book about, right? We're not the body, we're the energy field inhabiting or using the energy, the physical body. In terms of manifestation, what is manifestation? Well, if everything that you're experiencing is coming from your mind, and everything that your mind is projecting is part of this eternal, unlimited life force energy, then what is manifestation? Manifestation is merely imagining that which you already have. I'll give you an example. In order for something to exist on the physical world here, someone had to imagine it. Okay, someone somewhere. For example, this digital audio recorder. Someone had to imagine, you know what? It'd be great if I could just record my voice and keep it captured and play it back one day and digitally do this and digitally do that, and just, it'd be awesome. So they imagined this case. There's got to be a way to do this, and then they consulted some engineers and consultants, and they got some diagrams and mathematical stuff, and they got the passion to do this. They had this passion. They got some money, got some funding, got some investors. Boom! 1 year later, manifestation. Okay, so someone had to imagine this table, my clothes. They had to imagine the name of the city I'm in right now, the camera, everything. So what is reality? It's imagination made concrete, or seemingly concrete. Everything is, we're living in a world of imagination. So what is manifestation? It's imagination. That's it. Nothing complicated about it. Okay? It's the job of you to imagine what you want. The Creator, Supreme Creator, gave us His ultimate gift, the power to experience any reality we want, to be the to have dominion over our own imagination, and to experience and to imagine any reality we wanted. And what have we done? What have we done with that imagination personally in our own lives? Some have created chaos, some have created disease, some have created wealth, some have created happiness, sadness, sickness, destruction, joy. And we do that by the use of our imagination, by having limitations on our imagination or having no limitations on our imagination. It's where we place our attention and how powerful we think our imagination and attention really is to begin with. That's where the real power is, the power of imagination. And we've been instructed that imagination is just imagination. Like imagination doesn't exist, yet everything is imagination. It's like saying there is no oxygen. And people believing it, but yet you're living in it. Do you know what I mean? It's a contradiction. So imagination is just imagination, but yet everything's here because of imagination. So imagination means nothing, meaning it's like an oxymoron. It's like everything means nothing, that's what they're saying. But yet everything is part of imagination. So are thoughts real? People think that thoughts are just this nothingness floating in nothingness. But yet things happen. When you think, things happen. Hypothetically, not hypothetically, there's an example of George Bush saying, there's weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, or whatever. If that was a lie, I don't know. If you're telling the truth, I don't know. I don't believe, personally, there's weapons of mass destruction there. Maybe there was. However, that information being said was a thought. And based on that thought, the masses accepted the idea of invading Iraq based off that, which was another catalyst for another whole series of events. So, what is the power of a thought? What is the power of imagination? To destroy, to rebuild, it's whatever we want it to. So the power of manifestation is a very valid power. It's the power of imagination, which is the power of creation, or at the very least manifestation, which may be creation or maybe just figment of our imagination. Either way. How this plate works right here is by using this plate in the prescribed ways in which I've documented, which is very simple. It amplifies your thoughts billions of times more powerful than they normally are. It sort of cuts through some of the programming you may have that may prevent you from experiencing the result of your imagination. Certain mental blocks, certain emotional blocks, certain memories and traumas we have that have placed limitations on our mind can be bypassed with the plate in order to bring about desired results in varying degrees depending on your ability to connect with that level of imagination. Now, having an imagination is the greatest gift we have, and the stronger your imagination is, and the more unlimited your imagination is, the more instantaneous and definite your results will be with this plate. So think of like your reality as like a 7-layer cake or 10-layer or whatever it is, and think of the most dense layer, the very bottom layer, the crust. Okay? Now think of us living in that, or being physically present in this crust. In order for us to manifest something, the very top layer, where is the icing, that's the level of imagination. So in between the icing and the crust, we got many, many layers. Typically, when people have the idea of manifesting, they want money or the car, or they want this to happen or that to happen, they typically think of it in terms of physically things happening. So their mind is focused on the bottom layer. And in doing so, it slows down the process, because it's the process is flawed or errored, because they're looking at the wrong place. They're not looking into their imagination, they're looking in the area of the physical plane. So this energy field must go through the dense energy field of the physical plane, up through their emotions, up through their memories, up through their mind, up through several layers, and then reach the level of imagination. However, by that time, it's been tainted by all the errors in thought on the way to level imagination. And then that level of imagination comes back down again and filters down to the physical plane, where it may be diluted, distorted, corrupted, or just the time lag could be 20 years, okay? So it's kind of like going in a circle through all these layers and being filtered all the way through. Whereas with the advanced quantum matrix manifestation plate, it almost makes like a fiber optic connection to the level of imagination and back down immediately. Okay? Bypassing a lot of the trauma, a lot of the emotional barriers, the mental barriers, a lot of the belief systems that are slowing down the process or corrupting the process. And this plate has been designed to filter out negative intentions. Now, that is a whole nother subject on itself, which has there's a lot of nuances in that. And the word negative, again, is very arbitrary depending on this state of mind in which you're coming from. I state that in terms of what I call the unified field. And that being said, there are certain ideas and thoughts and concepts that are in harmony with the universal life force, or what I call the law of one. Now I can state to you what the law of one is from my perspective, and I can state to you what are called the 6 passions of the mind. And that being, when I state that to you, I've programmed that into this right here is to operate in the law of one. The law of one, I'll tell you right now, from my perspective, is number 1 is the Creator loves you and you are pure love. That's number 1. You exist. You exist, the Creator loves you, and you are one. Number 2 is all is one and one is all. That means everything you're looking at is one thing, and one thing is everything. It's just that this one thing happens to be so creative. It created itself in trillions and zillions of different shapes and colors and sounds and everything. But it's just one thing. The third law is everything you think, feel, and do comes back to you. Some people say that's the law of karma or reciprocalness. I'm not sure how to pronounce it or not. Yeah, you know.
Reciprocity.
Reciprocity, there you go. Tongue twister for me to say. And the fourth law is everything changes except the first 3 laws. Okay? Now, this is a quote that I got from a fellow named Bashar. And it encapsulates it quite nicely. There are a lot of sub-laws that stem from those 4 laws, which I won't get into. There are a lot of them, though. The law of economy, the law of forgiveness, and the law of certain laws that have to do with physical regeneration and wellness and whatnot, but those are for a different time. There are also 5 passions of mind, but I added 1. So 6 passions of mind that I'm aware of that control all of humanity in one form or shape or another in a negative way. And these are the laws, or these are sort of the anti-laws, the anti-creator laws. 1 is anger. 2nd is greed, vanity, undue emotional attachment. So anger, greed, vanity, undue emotional attachment. We have assumptions and lust. So lust doesn't necessarily mean not necessarily meant in a sexual way. It could be lust for gambling. It could be gluttonous for food. all these things, I'm going to say it one more time: lust, anger, greed, vanity, undue emotional attachment, over attachment, and assumptions. People assuming things. Assuming that someone's looking out for us. Someone assuming that when I go around the corner, I'm going to do this or that, when I could be doing anything else. Just imagining scenarios that just don't even exist. Just assuming. That's probably one of the biggest ones. But, they're all equal when it really comes down to it. So, that being said, the law of one is embedded into this board in terms of not allowing the 6 passions to infiltrate that in a subversive way, the results. So one who may be attempting to use the board in terms of a subversive way, they may not have any results. They may have results that may backfire, not in terms of a punishment, but in terms of the law of one. The law of one is everything you think, feel, and do goes back to you. So if it goes back to you in a very quick manner, then you're experiencing the law of one. It's not really punishing anyone. Everything that happens to us is a result of the law of one. And we may think that it's bad karma, or the Creator's punishing us, or why do bad things happen to good people? I can assure you it's their own soul's own energy coming back to itself. There is no such thing as a victim. There never was, there never will be. This just doesn't happen. Never happened. And it may seem to be that way on a physical level, that little Kimberly went skipping one day and playing in the backyard, and some dude snatched her up, and she was found mutilated a week later, and poor Kimberly, she was an innocent victim, and the whole town's up in uproars and looking for who may be responsible. However, Kimberly's soul essence in a different lifetime or different reality may be a mass serial killer out causing carnage, and Kimberly's soul, or Kimberly itself on a higher level, may need to experience what it's like to be on the receiving end of that, and it shows this our incarnation. And likewise, the results were her that soul getting a dose of its own medicine to learn more about itself. So it may be viewed upon in a spiritually ignorant society as a complete victim and random cause and effect. However, it's definitely orchestrated by the higher self of Kimberly and all those involved, all of us, as a global internet, sort of connected to this internet. Yet, is the internet real, or is it a manufacturing of our imagination in order to teach ourselves about ourselves? So we have to question the limits of our morality, and based on the limitations of how we understand reality to begin with, in order to even answer these questions about what is right or wrong, what is good and bad, things of that nature. These are all based off concepts that have been ingrained to us since we've been children. All these movies, Tom and Jerry cartoons, and the Roadrunner, Bugs Bunny, Star Wars movies, the good, the bad, the sun, the light, the dark, the moon, hot, cold. All these polarities seek to polarize us to one level or another. I went to many seminars, many spiritual conferences where people would get up on stage and saying, "I'm a light worker and I take an oath against the dark, and if you don't do so, then you're one of them," and blah, 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 blah. And these were people who are really well-respected teachers who are preaching that negativity is a bad thing, and it's not. And if we are going to avoid negativity in our lives and think of it as a negative or a bad thing, we're going to be running into denial of what we are and about what comprises reality, and thereby shutting out a good portion of what you are. And if everything comes from you and you're shutting out a portion of what you are, then you're shutting yourself off from yourself, which is going to lead you into ignorance or self-delusion. Almost all mental illnesses are due to the unwillingness to experience legitimate suffering. Now I'll say that again. Almost all mental illnesses are due to us unwilling to experience legitimate suffering, meaning that there are certain demons we have in our closet, skeletons in the closet, so to speak, issues we have, prejudices we have, ideas we have that we're unwilling to look at, we're unwilling to deal with, and the more we harbor these things, the more they build up like a cancer in our minds and affects us emotionally, mentally, spiritually, on every level, because it's all dealing in a level of imagination, and the level of imagination will and must manifest physically. It's just a law of the universe. So it's very important to be very careful and use discernment on where you let your imagination go, because that determines what your reality will be on every level. That being said, you may have heard him in the Bible, or certain versions of the Bible have said, in order for one to enter the kingdom of heaven, one must be born anew, or be like a child again. And being reborn is being reborn in a spiritual sense of bringing yourself back to purity, letting your imagination go back to purity so you can experience the purity of what you are in terms of how your mind understands reality and experiencing that. So one must purify themselves mentally, emotionally, in order to attain higher levels of truth, understanding, and joy, and love in their lives. And that's very, very important in terms of how you wish to understand and experience reality. Everyone wants love, everyone's seeking love, and through a partner, through drugs, through sex, through accumulated wealth, money. It's all seeking love through however they put it. And how we interpret that, again, is based on our upbringing. Likewise, all this combines together to build your whole life. Your whole life at this moment is one big manifestation of everything you've ever thought, felt, tasted, touched, experienced. It's one big painting that you painted. It's a story. Everything's a story that we've told ourselves from the day we were born. Well, if a girl kisses me on the cheek, then it must mean this. If that means that, then that must mean this. So we draw conclusions or deductive reasoning from one incident to another and build our sort of thesis on how life works. And that builds what's called the ego. And when I say ego, I mean that, I don't mean in terms of someone who has a big ego and thinks they're macho. The ego is the false self, a false sense of self, a false idea of self, or a false identification of self. That builds basically like a split personality. It builds a separate entity that is not operating from truth in varying degrees. It could be complete not truth, or just smidgens here and there that are confused. So the ego is built from these false belief systems. And these false belief systems, the ego, stops us from manifesting or experiencing the manifestation of what we want. Now let me give you an example of how unlimited the realm of manifestation is. There was many years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, I was listening to an audio tape, and one of the speakers was speaking, and he said, you know, if you want to manifest something, just imagine it for no more than 10 minutes and then never think of it ever again, ever in your life. Because the moment you go back to it and try and manifest it again, you've already acknowledged that you need to do something to manifest it, and you've already negated. You're now in fear mode. You're now fearing that it didn't happen, or the process needs to happen, and you already lost it. So just 10 minutes, done. Never think about it ever again. So I was like, okay. So there was this girl I met at a club like a year earlier, and she was really cute. And I was thinking, yeah, you know, I really want to see her again. I forget her name. trying to think of it, I forget. Crystal or whatever. Who knows? And I'm thinking, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing her again. So I'm driving my car, and I'm on my way home from the grocery store, I have some groceries, and I visualize her in my mind, and I'm like, okay, done. So in my mind, she's wearing certain things. So I park my car in underground parking, and I live in a penthouse suite in Edmonton. And I go in the elevator, and I go up to my floor, and I drop my groceries off. And then I realize, hey, where's my bag of cereal and everything else? So I said, oh, I must have forgot it. So I go back down, get my stuff, go back up in the elevator. The elevator opens on the third floor. Boom, there she walks in the door. Wearing the exact same thing, and I haven't seen her in a year. I was like, wow. I just couldn't get over it. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, holy smokes. Like, chances of that are like gazillions to one. And I was just smiling in the elevator, not because she was there specifically, but because she was there.
Yes.
But not because it was her there, but because of what has happened. I was like, wow. And everyone's just staring at me. I'm just with this smile on my face. I'm like, this is crazy. I just couldn't believe it. It was like insane. So, because the universe is unlimited in its scope, and the energy of the universe is unlimited potential, and our minds are drawing from that unlimited potential, anything can happen in reality, because there's the building blocks of physical matter is unlimited potential. So this may sound a little funny. However, in my reality, my mind generated an exact duplicate of her. Yet, in another reality, she was probably at home playing video games or doing whatever she's doing there. But because my mind unlimited its belief system, it generated its own version of her, which is just as valid as the other versions. So we tend to think of there being singulars, like one Rene, or one Kristen, or one Adam. There are gazillion versions of us, gazillions of things at any given moment, and we need only to limit our mind, our potentials, to experience more than one version at any given time. Now, back in the day, when I was really young, I used to read some books by an author called Jane Roberts. And I believe one of the books was called Personal Reality, really thick one. And this entity...
The individual and the nature of personal reality.
That's it. The individual and the nature of personal reality. And I read that, and this being was speaking through her and explaining very technical aspects of reality, very almost like scientifically. And I was blown away by the stuff that was being said. And then I read a book called The Individual and the Nature of Mass Events by the same author, and explained things on a mass level, like hurricanes and plane crashes, and how groups of souls agreed to do this and that, and really put things into perspective. And perhaps information was retained within me, because it's very easy for me to visualize something and to let it go and to experiment with my reality. So we tend to think of reality as solid, as following a certain set of rules of karma, of cause and effect. However, realities seemingly blend in from one reality to another, almost like water. Okay? Think of your mind as like a flower vase or vase, and your flower vase is shaped really long. It can hold a lot of flowers lengthwise, and mine's skinny with a couple weird widgets in there where the water flows in the weird widgets. So the life force, or the creative power of the universe, or this potential life force, will mold into any shape that our minds are and produce any results that we want, because that's what it's there for. It's there for us to experiment with, like Play-Doh. Here, what do I want to make today? Okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't care what shape you make or what you imagine, it'll just do it. Because that's the freedom the Creator gave us, to create what we want, create a magical universe, do whatever you want. Certain individuals, certain aspects of yourself, certain fears within yourself have placed you on this planet, and it just so happens that certain people, individuals on this planet have figured out ways to use your own imagination against you and to control your mind into ways into which you've created prisons of your own mind and certain realities. So we are confronted with a world in which we are dealing with everyone who is under the spell of negativity, and glimmers of hope here and there, are very sparse for the most part. So reality here, as we see on a global or political level or social level, is a manifestation of our collective imagination. So when we elect Mitt Romney or Bush or Obama or whoever it is, in Harper in Canada or Sarkozy in France or whatever, and we view a lot of political corruption and famine and all these things going on, what we're seeing is the collective imagination, the collective ego, the collective part of reality that is distorted. If we as individuals were of high understanding, morals, ethics on a very spiritual understanding level, we would never allow ourselves to be bribed to do things that were dishonorable, to be intimidated by fear, or whatever. It just wouldn't happen. So we wouldn't be living in this reality. So we're living in this time and space construct here on Earth, in which vast majority of this Earth is corrupted in terms of spiritual understanding and in spiritual integrity, which is not a negative thing, it's a learning lesson. That just shows that a lot of souls here have a lot to work on. And there are some souls here on Earth who can see through the veils of illusion, through the veils of control, and understand the mechanisms by which our reality works and how it is constructed, and who's really in control, and what power is, and what real love is, and what real... how we weren't told or taught how to discern correctly between truth and illusion. There's no school courses on truth and illusion and how to distinguish people's energy fields and see what's going on and become like a Jedi Knight. I didn't say that. Okay, didn't say that. Let me through that gate. Okay, go through the gate. Mind control people like that. There are people who can do that. You might want to look into a fellow named Darren Brown, Derren, out of the UK.
Yes.
He does that to people all the time. Walks up to them, give me $500. Okay. Just like that. It's just wild. And he explains how he does it. And he has whole shows that just explain the mechanism of the mind. Brilliant. I mean, you absolutely must see. Go Google him. Darren Brown. Watch all his videos. He will show you what the mind is capable of. It's insane. In a good way. So, the mind being this unlimited power of the universe is this awesome tool that we have to create any potential we want. The manifestation plate is a tool in which we can circumvent certain barriers that we have, limitations that prevent us from experiencing these manifestations in a more direct way. It's a tool. Like I was telling Adam earlier, we can walk from here to the Seattle marina or Disneyland. It'll take us a year of walking or whatever. We'll get there. Okay? There are tools, technology developed to help us reach our goals quicker. We can take a flight. We can ride a bike. We can take a car. We can take a train. These are tools to help us do things and make our life more convenient. That being said, this manifestation plate is a tool just like that. Do we need it? Not everyone needs it. some people can manifest things very quickly without any tool. Most people have not developed the understanding in order to use these tools of manifestation without actually having the physical object there to do that. I've developed certain pendants which also accelerate that process as well. Now, people ask me, what are the pendants really doing? Are the pendants really doing that? Yes and no. I can say in one respect pendants are doing nothing. I can say in another respect they are doing something. In the respect of not doing anything is in the respect that everything that's in our reality, everything that we come into in our reality. So for example, I have this little energy plate here. And when you put your hand near it, you can feel like electrical tingles hitting your hand. And this has an effect upon your biofield of your body, of your biorhythm, bioenergetic field. Now, some people experience amazing effects of well-being and so on and so forth by coming into contact with one of my plates or pendants. Now, is it the plate or pendant that's doing that? Well, let's think about that. All is one, and one is all. All your reality is actually coming from your mind. So, where is the power coming from of the pendant? Where do you think? You, your mind. So, the pendant can be viewed as a permission slip for you to experience your own energy that you didn't think you were capable of doing by yourself, but you think I need something external to do it. So it manifests, it brings you to me to buy a pendant because, oh, this is going to help me. And lo and behold, it gives you amazing benefits. You say, oh, it's got to be the pendant. Oh, amazing pendant, blah, 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 blah. But is it really the pendant? Or is it really you who's prepared for something bigger but didn't believe that you could do it yourself? So you manifested me to give you a pendant to do what you need, what you already did it yourself. Right? Exactly. Exactly. So a lot of these things we have in our lives are permission slips, if you want to call it. They are tools. Are they needed? Depends on your point of view. Is this doing something? Sure, it's doing something. But it's only doing something because you've given it permission to do something. So you haven't, and that's not the same as believing in something works or not. If I don't believe it works, it won't work. That's not the same. Because I know my vehicle magnets right here, I've had hardcore skeptics who've just been like, nope, I don't believe it, ain't gonna work, I'm not even gonna try it. And the wife's like, come on, don't be goofball, whatever, and try it. And he'll try it, and I'll be tired. What? 20% bigger mileage. What? How is that possible? Just can't believe it. You know, so believing something, not believing something works, and it working is different than you giving something a permission slip to work. They're two different concepts. By you not giving it permission, you wouldn't even come into contact with it. If you weren't ready for it, you wouldn't even have come into contact with the pendants. You wouldn't even have heard of them. You'd be in Africa eating grains of rice off the ground, homeless and weighing 20 pounds. You wouldn't ever come in contact with it because your soul is not ready for it. That's what I mean. If you've come into contact with it, somewhere down the line, there's something in their psyche that is bringing that to you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have heard about it. You wouldn't even be on planet Earth. You'd be on Zorton, the galaxy, eating Jello scrunchos. So the mere fact that you have an object in your presence, whether it be walking the street and you come home and there's gum under there, that you brought that, you've manifested that. The mere fact that the atom or molecule exists within your realm of perception means that you have manifested that. I remember once I was at a rave back in 1999. I remember the date, September 27th. It's a rave. It was called Nexus 5. And I went to that rave with my brother, and I met a bunch of friends there. And I had belonged to a certain spiritual organization and had a certain spiritual masters in which I thought I needed. therefore I manifested certain spiritual masters, which I thought I needed. And one of them came to me at this rave. Yeah. And was like, Rene, like, my brother was telling me something. My brother was telling me something my father said. And he said, you know, Rene, your thoughts are like ripples in the ocean that just keep on going and rippling out. And the way he said that to me, I swear to you, it was like I'm sure you've seen like the inner workings of like those Big Ben clocks, the gears and shifting and moving. It was like that. I literally felt gears in my head go. Literally, I actually felt gears shifting, and I was like, whoa! And my whole reality went like, it just switched vision. It was like, went from physical vision to like some different type of physical vision. It was, I can't explain it to you. This is weird. It's kind of like those pictures you look at, and you look at it one way and it's a young woman, and you look at the other way and it's an old lady with a cigar, and it's an old lady, it's a young woman. You know, it was like that. It just flipped, and I went, I was like, whoa. So, point being, is at that moment, a master came and was like, just staring, and I'm like, holy, like, this is insane. I just feeling, and just, he's like, are you ready? I'm like, ready for what? And what I saw was my reality turn into like trillions of pieces of paper, like super mega trillion thin, just like when you draw a little character on a page of a pad, and like one after another, like 500 of them, and you flip the pad and you go brrr, and you can see them walking. That was the same thing. My whole reality was like trillions of sheets of images. So there's like nothingness, and then these trillions of images of reality wrapping around me. Even my hand moving was this trillions piece of paper, like. So what I got to see is that reality is merely freeze frame shots wrapping around my consciousness to give the appearance of movement, but I was stationary. I mean, even the wind, even the air, the lights, everything was just snapshots of the images floating around me. So I was stationary. Even me moving, walking, was snapshots. But I was not actually moving. It was just the appearance of it. So you never really go anywhere. Okay, so it's that you are eternal soul. You are beyond time and space. And you're viewing life through your mind, which wraps unlimited potential quantum particles around you, even in the skin of your body, to give the appearance of 3D reality. But you never went anywhere. You're imagining the walls here. That's the level of power of the mind you have right now. It's when you conceive of the power of your mind, it must be given to you in small doses, because you cannot comprehend it. You can't even comprehend that kind of power. So in order to handle greater amounts of power of manifestation, you must purify yourself emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Because the Creator is not going to give you that kind of power if you're going to use it in negative ways. And there are ways to circumvent that. There are beings, don't get me wrong, who have used certain techniques, occult techniques, to get themselves at very high levels of creation and use it for negative purposes. Basically, the moment the Creator creates a projection of itself is when it allows negativity to enter the picture. Whenever duality exists, meaning all is one and one is all. But we enter a state of mind in which the one becomes more than one. Well, there's two. There's now me and there's now you. That moment is where the level of trickery is happening. That split moment of separation, of you being separated from creation. So it's a very high level of creation, of deception that begins at creation itself. Is there a way to ever get beyond that? Yes. The only way to get beyond that is to go beyond the mind. It is the mind that creates the deception, the 6 passions of the mind. However, the mind is a tool for you to use. You can control the mind, or the mind can control you. Okay? The mind is the master of matter. The mind controls matter. Okay? Not the other way around. So you control the mind, and the mind controls matter. So matter is subject to you, not the other way around. So if matter is subject to you, then anything you want to manifest is subject to you because it's merely a byproduct of the mind, which you control. So in speaking of this, these are direct links with your higher self to manifest that which you own, which you don't really own. Let's remove that word own, because no one really owns anything. Which you have access to, which is part of you. This is an amplifier. This plate amplifies. This is an optional plate which amplifies the main manifestation board. So the main manifestation board on its own is amazing. This amplifies that even further. There's a certain part of the board in which one would put what they want to manifest right here, which is limited to about a 5 by 5 area. Whereas this plate is connected to this plate via, if you can zoom in on, there's a little holographic patch right here with a special serial number. And that serial number is the same serial number that I put on this plate right here. So by quantum entanglement, whatever you do on this plate right here is going to happen on the manifestation amplifier board. So you could technically send this amplifier board to a friend of yours who lives in Germany, okay? And then that's connected to your main board, which is here in the United States. And you could do some energetic work here, and whatever you're doing here energetically is going to happen in Germany because we've connected the two plates. Not only that, it'll be amplifying it as well. Some people have like 4 or 5 amplifiers because they want mega juice, they want powers, you know. We also have the small little plate right here, which works very similar to the big plate, with exception it doesn't have dials. The dials on this big plate here allow you to lock your manifestation into a certain quantum connection and leave it there and turn up the power on the full blast or whatever you want and walk away from it. And it just sits there 24 hours a day pumping out these messages to the level of imagination. Now you can set it and forget it. I'm sure you've heard that, right? Ron Popeil, rotisserie something.
Yeah.
Set it and forget it. Same thing. This is set it and forget it. This small version, you can set it and forget it if your mind's powerful enough. However, most people need to continually broadcast that thought form onto this, or put a piece of paper with their manifestation on this, and the ability to fine tune it quantumly with the dial. It's not as proficient or efficient. However, if you are beyond a level of having to use the dials, then this is just fine. I don't particularly need the device or the dials or anything. And there are a lot of people I know who are like that. You can imagine what you want to manifest on the desire pad. You can write down instructions on a piece of paper. You can, let's say you have a big jug of water or a ring or chain, and you want to put the energy of certain vitamins you have and transfer those energies into your chain or ring, which you wear on your finger. You can do that from here as well. Now you could do it temporarily, or there's a lock function in which you can lock those energies in there permanently. Again, you can use this to bless people. You can put a picture of someone here on the destination wall, an actual photograph, and put certain blessings here, and blessings will go to that being. Okay. Things of that nature. I can't get into specifics of any medical stuff because this is not a medical device. That's something you can experiment with on your own. This is an experimental device, not used to diagnose or anything like that, treat illnesses or conditions. It's merely for experimental use into your being, who you are, what reality is all about. So the uses for this are tremendous, are literally unlimited. It's limited by your imagination only.
And permission.
And permission. Well, if you're working within the law of one, okay, which I always state, then whatever you're doing that's not in the law of one won't go through anyways, because you're not operating on that level. There is something that there's a scale that I've developed. I have companies and people who send me samples of energy products, to foods, waters. They want me to measure the life force on the energy. Now I developed something called the Vibra Electro Life Force Scale. The vibration it's basically the vibration of the electrons and the amount of life force that moves through them. And putting that to a scale in which I can determine certain levels of life force and integrity within a particular product. Now everything has positive and negative life force to a certain degree. Now what's really important is I call this the positive unified life force scale. And when I say unified, that makes a difference. Because I'm speaking from the level of unified, the whole. Now, within the whole, there's positive and negative to varying degrees, the polarities. Now, I could be viewing positive from the realm of positive as in negative's bad, and I could be in negative and think positive is bad because it's opposite of me. So there really is no difference between positive and negative. But when I say unified, it's looking at it from the whole, as in you're not positive, you're not negative, but in that vastness, you see that all is perfect and in perfect order. So it's positive in those terms. So when I'm measuring the positive unified life force value of an object or a person or a thing, I'm measuring how much it is in tune, that is quantifiably, with the unified life force value, the unified field, the field of harmonics of the universe, of the law of one. Okay, certain things that have been blessed us with certain energies or feelings are more in alignment with the law of one than other things. So that's what we're really measuring, is the different levels of positive and negative in terms of the law of one. I can show people how to do that without with the use of the board, and I can show them how to use it without the use of the board on any surface. Some wooden surfaces, and I don't know what types of wood I have not been able to do it on. So let me give you an example of what I mean by that. How this works, what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, what I've been able to determine is, as of the past 4 years or so of measuring people's life force, measuring average person's life force, I've noticed the average person's life force on a scale of 0 to infinity. The positive life force value has been about 20 to 150. 20 to 150 on a scale of 0 to infinity. 0 being like Walking Dead. Recently, though, and I don't know if it's my energy field changing. Well, this is a conundrum because I'm speaking about my energy field versus other people's, but it's really mine, but it's really other people's. So you can take it however you want to take it. I'm not sure if it's a global phenomena or a personal phenomena or what you want to call it, but seemingly the average life force has seemed to be rising or risen. So now it's no longer 20 to 150, it's more of 100 to 400. I don't know what's up with that. However, around the 10,000 positive unified life force mark is where things start to really have rejuvenative effects. Okay? Now remember, everything can have a positive and negative and negative life force, right? Usually things around 400 negative life force and more, so negative 400, 500, 600, start to unbalance the beings or the field around it much more pronounced. So ideally, you want to be under 400 negative and above 10,000 positive. So, if anyone has an object, a water, chain, ring, anything, I can measure it and I can tell you where it's at, positive and negative. A lot of people, light workers, new age people, whatnot, bring me the crystals, and I'll just look at the crystals when they're wearing it, and I'll just say, which one you want me to measure?
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, I don't know.
I have something you can measure too.
Sure. So, I'll measure in just a second.
Mhm.
Leave it here. And I'll just tell you that a lot of people in New Age field and whatnot, they'll walk around with crystals and whatever, little trinkets and whatnot, and they'll say, oh, it's been blessed, oh, it's had a shaman blessed it, or this or that, and I can just see there's negative energies attached to it. So a lot of objects, almost every object on the planet, with exception of a few of them, retain the memory and the energy of everything it's ever come into contact with. So it's like everything's a tape recorder. There are some exceptions though. And unless you know how to clear it, it will retain the energy and project that energy to one degree or another. Some people say, oh, I put it in sunlight and I put salt water on it and leave it in the sun, or I'm like, seriously? Because last time I did that, it took like a week till it cleared. Okay? Perfect. I'll try that. Oh, I felt something just touching that. Seriously. That's funny. Yeah, so I could see certain things on different dimensions happening with, and I will explain the different types of vision I have a little later on if you guys are interested. But for right now, I'd say a lot of people in the New Age field and light worker field are really misled about positive and negative energy. And I say so because we have had, our whole lives have been consumed by negative energy, negative thoughts, erroneous thoughts, misleading thoughts, ideas, that we're literally living in a soup of negativity. Okay? It's almost like, I'll use this analogy, that we're living our whole lives in a bathtub of ice water. And let's say the ice water is negative energy. Now, if I add a bit of hot water to that, you can be able to feel a difference right away. Like, whoa, like, that's doing something for me. I feel better already. Okay? So, let's just say I added hot water and cold ice water at the same time. They would feel the hot water, but would they feel the cold ice negative water? They wouldn't, because they're still in it. So I could give you a whole bunch of hot water and a whole bunch of negative cold water at the same time. You wouldn't even notice the difference. You wouldn't notice the negative behind the hot water because you're living in the negative. You're so used to it, you don't notice more. If I had dumped a gallon more negative water on you, you wouldn't even notice because it's all the same. So if I was to give you a pendant with a whole bunch of positive energy, but a whole bunch more negative energy behind it, would you even notice? No, because you're focusing on positive. Oh, I feel better positive. Oh, go buy 100 of them. Give them all my friends. You're just spreading a virus because you don't notice the back end of it has negative energy behind it because you're so focused on the positive. Most people only think, oh, it's positive energy, must be good. No. Everything has positive and negative energy to one degree or another. Some have very little negative energy and you can't even register it. So, a lot of crystals, you find in crystal shops, a lot of trinkets have negative energy downloaded. Like, I'm sorry to say this, but the New Age community is probably more susceptible to deception than any other religion or anything ever created. Because they're so open to whatever, the dark forces are just feeding the masses, feeding them with bah, ha, 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 ha. Seriously, it's insane. There's things I've seen people touch things and right away have 1,000 entities enter them in one split second. And I just came near that crystal and I was like, no way. Because I could feel and see what's going on there. Like people, oh, it's crystal, it's a citrine with moldavite and crystals, it's a Lemurian crystal, straight to Atlantis and Andromedan galaxy with a ninth gate open the showers. And I'm like, whatever. You're dreaming, man. Seriously? You know, my ascension, I have no more karma now, I'm karma free. Karma free? Excuse me? I've had a lot of people tell me recently they're karma free. Karma free? Huh? That's like telling me you're not part of that. The one law of one, which is what you do, think, and feel comes back. That's like telling me that you're beyond that. Maybe in their reality, and who am I to devalidate their reality, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to catch yourself judging other people, even though it's funny. It's funny to relish in these thoughts. You got to keep it real, though, right? You cannot devalidate someone's reality, even though it's humorous and it makes no sense. And there are certain things. There's a limit to that, you know. That's where you need to not be attached to what you're thinking about someone, and not be attached to it. You could think someone's loony for a few minutes, but not be attached to it, not really think. You can indulge in the illusion, but not believe it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Not believe it, not live it, not take it serious. Mm-hmm. And that's where the fine line between being delusional and being absorbed into something, or being detached from something and having a balanced outlook comes. So I'm going to measure, see this, whatever this is, I can feel that. Okay. Is this 2 here? Okay, 2. Okay. What do you feel from this? Do you feel anything from this? Mm-hmm. Okay. Positive, negative, neither? Just out of curiosity. If you don't have to answer me if you don't want to.
Do you feel which it is?
Do you feel positive, negative? Do you feel any sensation from it?
It's not sensation, it's inspiration.
Inspiration? Okay. Mm. This is cold for me. Mm-hmm. Not temperature-wise, but energy-wise. Okay. Not cold as in opposite of hot. It's just neutral. It's like flat. Okay. So the positive unified love force value of this is, in this moment, positive unified love force value is for 100. 100. Or 10, 20, 30, 40. 40. Okay? Negative cellular memory. Now there's 2 things. Negative cellular memory is the memory of what that's been through. Negative cellular programming is what that's been programmed into that via a thought, a spell, an intent, whatever. Negative cellular programming for 100. For 200, 100. 200 negative programming, which is mine, nothing. Negative cellular memory, 100, lots, it's lots. 200, 100, 500, 600, not bad actually, 600. So it's pretty much neutral in terms of energy. It's just like neutral.
So are you asking if it's negative first and then positive?
You can ask any direction you want.
So you're just, when you're putting your hand on the plate.
Yeah, put my hand on the plate.
Okay, and then you say it again. You said like negative, and then you started.
Yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm putting my hands on this plate right here, and I've programmed my mind to give me a stick.
Right.
To make my fingers perspire just micro slightly and stick when I've reached yes or no.
Okay.
Now some people will be like, a stick will be a yes for them, and some people will be a stick will be a no for them.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what I can do is I can harmonize this with your inspiration. and then measure the energy field in it. So why don't you come here? Okay, and I want you to think of that inspiring thought, that feeling, whatever it is. Okay? Hold it within your heart. Okay? Okay, more intently. Okay? There we go. Okay? Oh, I'm getting really hot. I'm sweating. Okay, we're done. Yes. Oh, my hands full. Wow. Okay, pause if you feel this. For value is over 100, 1,000, 10,000, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100, 200, 500. Approximately 20 million.
Whoa.
Okay, negative, nothing. I'm gonna lock it in. 20 million.
There you go.
How can we do that? That was awesome.
Now, for gosh sakes, don't let anybody touch that from now on.
Well, we want to know exactly how to do that so that we can clear our own things.
Okay. Now these also little energy power plates I make, which you can put your jewelry, your vitamins, your money, whatever you want, and it just does that.
It does that right, the same thing.
Well, not what I did. It doesn't tune. I tune his DNA, into that. So it's like, right. This just clears a lot of. I'm not gonna say all negative energy because there's certain levels of negative energy I can't even conceive of. Right, like dimensions, but it, for the most part, it does superficially on a very deep level. You could say it clears negative energy and boosts the life force up to a very high level. So like even just putting like your chains or jewelry or whatever crystals on this, like 1 second, done. That's, I mean, once a week you're done. You don't even think about it. Let it set it and forget it.
Now, all of those squares that you have, they all do the same thing?
To varying degrees. Some are more emotional, some are mental.
Oh,
you know, they have little descriptions on the back of them and whatnot.
I see.
I go on the website and read up on those. Okay, so this one.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel this one. I'm going to estimate 50-something thousand. We'll see. How's it going to 1,000, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. 50,000.
Positive?
Yeah.
What is that? I'll tell you now, okay.
Negative cellular memory. Over 100. 200. My hands are getting tingling near this thing. It was their programming. No, 50,000 positive.
Okay.
It makes my nerves like raw. Like
That's 0 point energy that's in there. This is called the,
the tachyon.
no, this is,
Supercoherence return to love frequencies.
and this is the panic to calm is what that is.
That's what that one is?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
The panic to calm.
Yeah, it's actually sounds pretty interesting. Yep.
That's a good thing to know. Very good.
Very subtle energy field. Like it's very subtle. I can barely feel it. I can feel it, but it's very slow moving and penetrating. I don't even know what this would be, to be honest.
Ready.
Oh, 5 million positive.
5 million positive.
5 million positive. Do you want me to tune this into you?
Sure.
Okay. No. There you go.
Thank you.
Mhm.
4 billion.
Okay.
Boy, she didn't let anybody touch it before. You can anybody touch this thing now.
This needs to be cleared. I sense an entity attached to this.
Oh, great.
I don't know what. Yeah, there's something going on here, like a living thing was running.
It goes everywhere with me.
Positive value for fly over 100, 1,000, 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 positive, negative set memory. 6,000 negative memory, negative programming. Almost 80,000 negative programming. So there's something in there.
So
And I
would
feel
that,
there's something
that
living.
seems like that would be making me unhappy, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't know, but it
Huh?
seems to me there's a living entity in there
Would you
doing
please-
something like programming, like like it's
Oh,
possessed for lack of better term.
so we want to not wear it?
I can clear it
Good, clear it.
temporarily until because there's a living entity in there. I don't know what's bringing it to you.
Like a condo.
It's like moved in.
Yeah, well,
Evicted.
I'll tell you that our minds, our pineal glands, or what our beings are, we're stargates. We are portals for other
Well,
dimensions.
could it be a joyous one? Because I'm happy most of the
Well,
time.
it's negative program.
It's what?
It's negative programming I'm feeling. That doesn't mean that you're generating it. Doesn't mean that it's affecting you. You could be a lot more joyous, perhaps, if that's clear. Do you know what I mean?
Great.
Well then, so you can clear it now. How would she or anybody who had that clear it? Does it need to be cleared on a regular basis?
I don't know. It depends on what attracted that to
Is
that
it,
piece.
is it drawing itself from
I don't know. It
something
could be-
within me?
Yeah, it could be from within you. It could be external. It could be hard to say. I'm just looking at what's going on in there now, so I'm just observing. Even though it looks like I'm just staring at nothing, I'm like, it's
Maybe,
like,
could it be from this ring? Because I got this and I just put it on. And I just was wondering, I haven't had a close affinity to that one, but I wear them close together.
give me one moment. It's like at least negative 40 million right now.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had my suspicions about it, so could it have had something to do
Yeah, quite
like,
possibly.
with the other one?
Yeah, this has been spelled or something.
Yeah.
There's something weird with it. I'm looking at it, and I'm like,
I've never had, and I've always relieved when I don't forget to put it, when I forget to put it on.
I feel weird on it.
Like I don't miss it at all. Where the other thing I do miss if I don't wear it.
Well, Rene, even a new item could still have old memory, right?
And give me an example.
Especially
Like,
if
like
it's,
a new piece of jewelry could have old memory attached to it.
well,
still.
what about the gold that's made with, kids have been making them in Africa and everything. I mean, it's just a lot of,
What do you mean?
Problems with
What do you
gold.
mean? Yeah, that's true. What do you mean by something new could have old memory? Explain the connection between new and old.
Let's say a used piece of jewelry that was worn by somebody.
Yes. You mean new to
Previously.
you?
I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
An older piece of jewelry that had been worn by somebody
Yeah.
that you now have
Yes.
versus a newly manufactured
Yeah.
piece of jewelry. Even though it's newly manufactured, that it still has the memory of whatever it was
Yes.
before, right?
Yes.
So it's not it's not like you got a new piece that you don't have attachment. You may or may not, right?
Correct.
Right, okay.
Well, that leads to the question, is anything really new?
Mhm.
I mean, there's things that are
Yeah,
transmuted.
Yes.
that's right.
Everything's
So many
changing
people can
form.
touch.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
My head hurts. Not a headache, I mean, my head hurts, okay?
Okay.
And I'm wearing this.
Mhm. Yep. The crystal truth cross. Okay. Now, I'm only allowed to clear this to the amount of level to which I'm allowed to. Positive and negative, right. It's about 300 million positive, zero around, zero programming, zero negative energy. However, now they're both clear.
They're both completely cleared, and now can you
Yeah, just-
attune it to me or not?
No.
No.
Spirit said no.
Okay.
You can do it though.
I can.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. No.
They're completely cleared right now
Mhm.
of anything. Is that
Anything
right?
negative.
Okay.
I don't know about completely, but to the ability to which I can read you. Whose ring is this?
Jim.
Okay. Very high light force. I can actually see like light particles coming on it.
Hmm.
For 100 million. Positive? Negative? None. So for 100 million. Now, again, I don't need the board, right? So I'll just use this table. Certain types of wood I can't do it on, but this maybe I'll do on this. $500,000.
Positive?
Yep. Negative, so remember you go for 100. No, it wasn't programming. 100, 200, 200. So 500,000 negative, so they're programming 200. Negative energy, nothing. So I'll try it on here. Yeah, 500,000. So just because it has a high number doesn't mean it's beneficial for you specifically, because there are different types of energy. So I have a pendant that has one particular type of energy, and I could test your energy with this, and you'll be like, you'll go to like 1 billion holding this. But then you could hold this, and you can go to 5 million. But this is 5 million of the energy you need versus 500 billion of energy you don't necessarily need. So it doesn't mean that it has a high life force number, it's better for you. I have people at trade shows that like do testing on like 10 different pendants, and that one is the highest number, so I want that one. Like, well, is it what you need? Like if I give you 10 cases of oranges and 3 apples, but you like apples, I want apples, but 10 cases of oranges, I'll take 10 cases of oranges because there's more of them. Well, it's not what you need, it's not what you want.
Yeah.
So, the higher is not always better.
Generally speaking, with your pendants, we find the one or possibly 2 out of the whole array that people are drawn to,
Mm-hmm.
tests out as being the right one for them with the way we test.
When you're distributing my pendants,
Yes.
and you have a whole bunch of them laid out,
Yeah.
and most people are drawn
Yeah.
to 1 or 2 of the same ones, or just
No,
out of all of
out
them.
of all of them.
They
And
say, I
usually
want a
it's
couple of
just
them.
one, but possibly 2, yeah.
Yeah.
And one more strongly than the other.
Mm-hmm.
And when we test them, holding them, we find they are right.
That's it.
That's the one.
That's one.
But anything else they pick up.
Doesn't suit them.
No, well, it doesn't test out.
And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's a bad pendant, it's like you said, it's just.
Just not for them.
Just not for them.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
In fact, there was one pendant I made, which is called the triple blue star. I couldn't even come near that pendant for like 6 months. Seriously, friends would wear it. I'm like, stay back 15 feet. Because whenever I get near them, it felt like I drank 100 cups of coffee. I get jittery, and I just felt weird. I was like, I just can't even come near it. My hands would feel like they're on fire. And yeah, it was probably 8 months later that I was able to come near it and deal with it. I mean, I was able to package it and send it out, but
Somebody please buy this from me.
yeah, get rid of them. Now I'm fine with it. So, you know, even though I was a conduit for the manifest here, doesn't mean it's necessarily good for me either, right?
Right.
So I will tell you something about dependence that I have a difficult time explaining in person, but I'll tell you now in video, is that a lot of objects are like quantum scalar objects and pendants and stuff are being charged with radionics machines or by intent, putting them in chamber and putting a word on them, intent, and or by frequencies, tone generators and whatnot. These are not made that way. There's no intent put into these pendants. And the difference is an intent is like a spell. Okay, there's ego attached to it. Doesn't mean it's negative ego, it's just ego attached to it. There's an intention put behind it. It could be erased, it could be overwritten. A frequency can be overwritten, erased, can be duplicated, whatever it is. I don't want my karma attached to any dependence. I don't intend for them to do anything. When I create the imagery, I go to a state of consciousness, in full waking consciousness, not closed eyes, none of that. I'm just in a zone where I'm feeling very creative, and I enter a state of consciousness where when making the image, I connect with the imagery in a state of consciousness in where that's coming from. And I literally create a interdimensional gateway between that dimension and this third dimension. So what you're experiencing is the interdimensional gateway between this dimension and the third dimension. So it's almost like an open door of energy rushing through. Like if you was a freezing cold, windy day out, -40, and it's warm and toasty, and Thanksgiving at home with the turkey in the oven and fireplace going, and you open the door, just whoosh, cold winds, roars. Okay? That's what it's like. It's like an open door. So when negativity, you attempt to throw negativity at it, it's like a wind. It's like a fan that's blowing at you, and you're trying to throw paint at that fan. It's just the wind's continually pushing through. So in terms of this being able to attract negative energy or retain into it, from my perspective, don't take my word for it. I want you to believe me. I want you to experiment yourself. I don't see negativity attaching to these or transferring from one person to another. Don't take my word for it. Do your own experiments. That's the difference between mine. Mine is like a gateway interdimensionally. It's a living consciousness moving through it continually, versus me taking this and imprinting it. These are not imprinted. I don't know what these do. I don't care what they do, and I don't even know until we test them afterwards, after they're made. I can feel the state of consciousness from which I've designed it, so I know internally where it's coming from, but I don't know what it does until we do biofeedback tests afterwards and have people try it. That's the difference between mine and others. And I'm not saying mine's superior, it's just that's the state of consciousness at which it's coming from. And if you resonate with that, then you'll be attracted to it. If you don't, I know people who've tried these nano wands and power balance bracelets and all sorts of stuff, and they have great results with them. And that's the state of consciousness they're at for whatever reason. So there's something for everyone. There's cheap used cars from the rent-to-wreck car lot, and then there's the $10 million custom platinum gold Lexus, Mercedes, hybrid Lamborghinis or whatever. There's a market for everything, and there's different states of consciousness of the products and for everyone. So that really determines whether you're attracted to this or not, or you've heard of me, or you've heard about some other stuff, or whatever. It's just where you're at. So that's the way to. That's a basic shortened version of manifestation. I don't want to get the long version. But, reality essentially is fluid. It's fluid, and it bends and it molds into anything it wants. Just like you could, based on your state of consciousness right now, you could enter a version of Earth in which there is no nuclear war, in which there is no things turn out for the better and whatever, in your terms. And then there are other people who are entering versions of Earth that are just nightmarish as we speak, because that's their reality bubble. And even though we think peace on Earth is the most enlightened spiritual way to go, or an ascension, that's not necessarily the case, because if you really understand things, you'll see that things are perfect in the way they are, and souls are here learning through hardships and through suffering, and that is the perfect place for us to learn, in this proving ground, so to speak. And you'll see the perfection and everything that's going on, even though it may appear, 10 years ago to be bad or negative, it's really positive. And when you know yourself as eternal soul, then you won't be afraid of doing certain things. And knowing yourself is an ongoing process. So people say that, well, you're spiritual, this, that. You shouldn't be afraid of this or that. Well, how would you know? My issues are completely different than the average person's issues. Not that they're more evolved issues; they're just different level of issues. Like the average person, is worrying about who the girlfriend's sleeping with, or cheating, and what this goofball work said, and get a new tire for his motorbike, and just tripping over these little things, and that's just nothing. That's not even a drop on the scale of what I'm dealing with in terms of where I place my attention and what really matters to me, or what issues I'm dealing with. In one of my last lifetimes to this, I was a galactic commander of some spaceship hierarchy, whatever, and some opposing forces blew up my planet right in front of me. This boom, like the whole planet. And the level of emotion on that was so massive. The range, the level of the impact of emotion beyond anything I've ever experienced on, bar none. So the range of emotions that most humans are experiencing is microscopic compared to what you really can experience, to what was really the impact of how big reality really is going on. There's spiritual warfare going on so many levels right now, where the average person is literally like walking dead. They have no concept of anything. They have no concept of the spiritual warriors who are working on their behalf to protect them from forces that are looking to decimate the human race. And I'm talking about alien forces, I'm talking about interdimensional forces, I'm talking about human forces of everything you can think of, things you can't even think of, are working for destruction, to destroy this planet, this solar system, this galaxy. And there are forces working equally on the other side, looking to maintain it, to sustain it, to breed prosperity, and to counteract these negative forces on levels we can't even dream of, like stuff that the average person watching American Idol and eating Cheetos at home and smoking weed, they have no.
Okay, may I ask you
It's
something?
mind blowing.
From everything that you said tonight, though,
Yes.
I'm understanding that what you're saying is that everyone is the complete, indivisible
Mhm.
expression of the whole, determined by the amount of expansion that of his awareness.
Yes.
And when you're saying my mind, really you're talking about the one mind
When I say
and your awareness of that one mind.
yes, I'm talking about my awareness of the one mind,
Right, right. And that's all of
which
the
is the one mind expressing itself in a limited awareness through my
individually
character.
and indivisibly. Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
when you're looking at your partner, when you're looking at someone walking across the street, or some dude in looking for change.
Right, okay, so that brings me all
Yeah.
back to what you just
Go ahead.
said
Go ahead.
about the average person walking around
Yeah.
completely unaware.
Mhm.
That is all in your consciousness.
Absolutely.
It's not in mine.
It's not in mine.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Now, when I speak in levels. Now, there are degrees to everything. On one degree, on one level, that person is completely unaware of certain things that are happening. Through my consciousness, I perceive their unawareness.
Right.
However,
Right.
because I perceive that unawareness in that other person, I must be perceiving it myself to
Exactly.
begin with, even
Uh-huh.
conceptual,
Yeah.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, being there, done that.
Yeah.
Okay. Still working on it.
Right.
Um,
Gotcha.
So, whatever it is, who you're seeing walking the streets, standing in front of you at the burger joint, whatever it is, it's all you, but a different expression of you you're unfamiliar with. So
It's
you
all-
think it's them. You
It's
think
an
it's
individual expression of I.
exactly.
Yeah.
Everything is the Holy Spirit. Everything is the Creator Spirit. Yet when we think otherwise, we separate ourselves from the Creator. And we think, oh, that's them, and that's my brother, that's my sister.
Right.
That's all. It's all you. It's all one thing.
I have a question. With that, the entity, is that, so that entity that I always thought, because I've always been thinking, oh my gosh, do they have an entity because they're so negative? Isn't an entity usually a negative force?
No.
Oh, it isn't?
Not usually.
So it can be really? I
Yeah.
didn't know
You
that.
can get positive.
So,
You have like angelic entities. You have
but the ring wasn't having it was a negative entity, right?
from my perception.
Yeah. So
However, from your perception, it could well be very positive.
Oh, I don't know.
And
Because
that's the mystery.
Yeah.
That's the there's the conundrum right there. From your perception, it can be
But for
positive.
yours, it was negative.
Yeah.
That's really
Well, like you said, a
interesting.
negative entity would, an angelic force would not be
It wouldn't
a
be
good
negative.
thing
Well,
of it by itself. It's like you're saying, the light workers are saying everything should be positive, but if the whole thing is about a balance in the experience,
Yeah.
if there is no negative, then you will only experience that one thing.
exactly. So
And if your spiritual development counts on that, you're not going to have it.
yeah,
You'll be missing it. You'll
Yeah.
have to go somewhere else to do it
exactly.
again.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of medical intuitive work. I would see different conditions in people, cancers, this, that, bone problem, marrow, like candida, whatever it is. People would be like, hey, tell me how to get rid of it. I'm like, no. And why not? Well, you have the ability to tell people how to deal with cancer or whatever. Well, if I tell you something that negates you from looking inside yourself to find out your own answers to your problems, how am I helping you? I'm not.
Unless I've manifested you to cure my cancer.
Yes. However, that
This could
still
go on and on.
is preventing you from looking inside. And again, and there are exceptions. There are conundrums in there
Oh,
that I
sure.
don't understand. You don't understand.
Sure.
We don't understand.
Absolutely.
However, I just choose to not go that route. That's why my higher self told me, no, I cannot tune that to you for whatever reason. Maybe you need to do it yourself. You need to learn that so you can teach other people. I don't know. I don't question it. That's all
I
there's
thought
to
you
it.
did clear it. Oh, you
No.
can't tune it to me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
However, use your imagination.
One thing you said too was that okay, talking about reality, talking about the mind, and the fact that we influence the mind.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that's really kind of something worth reflecting on and acknowledging. Our experience is the mind responding to the influence that we've permitted.
Mhm.
Well, since there is no judgment, right, wrong, good or bad, hard or easy,
Mhm.
then we might ponder even that whole exercise of focusing on the things that we are wanting or the changes that we are wanting and applying that thought, that energy for 10 minutes and then letting it go.
Yeah.
Let's practice that.
Mhm.
See what happens.
Absolutely.
I think that would be time and mind well spent.
I will tell you one thing
Mhm.
to start with. That the reason why you see so much sexual proliferation in media and cartoons and music videos and everywhere else is because sexual energy is creative energy.
Yes.
It's actually orgone energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that energy that is being used to manifest all sorts of things. So there are certain occult groups or beings and whatnot, they take sexual energy on a different dimension, usually astral dimension,
Mhm.
and they harvest that and they use that sexual energy to manifest their aim or their goals. That's why they want people to masturbate. They want people to masturbate because when people reach climax, there's a sexual expression,
Mhm.
energy released in an undirected manner, and they take that undirected sexual energy and they harvest it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's why certain occult spiritual practices, satanic Luciferian pedophiles will sodomize boys,
Mhm.
boys and little virgin girls, because them corrupting that pure energy, they literally vampirically, parasitically take that life force on,
Mm-hmm.
because the energy is so pure.
Mm-hmm.
And how might that affect them?
Well, I don't want to get to really sick stuff, but some of these Luciferian practices, at the moment of climax inside of a boy, they literally kill the child right there, slit their throat at that moment.
Mhm.
That they somehow take on that soul essence and energy.
I see.
And that's extreme level. There are very other subtle ways to do that. I'm sure we've all been around people we talk to and just get drained and just, I need to have to have a nap after talking to this person, because that's a very subtle level. So the creative energy happens on many different levels, and obviously the highest form of that is the heart and mind combined.
Mm-hmm.
The using that together to manifest. The lower levels, the psychic levels, are the lower chakras. The higher levels are the spiritual levels, are the higher chakras. So that's where you want to be. That using your imagination with love and with full expression,
Mhm.
and with unlimitedness in your consciousness. 10 minutes. Just think. Don't think what you're on for 10 minutes, but don't think longer than 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you say you have to do it for a full 10 minutes. It could be 1 minute.
Got
Just
it.
do it, let it go. And let it go, and knowing it's going to get done. Because the moment you doubt it, it's not done. It's crazy. They're back in Egypt, they put people in spiritual tests where they would have dogs or whatever that would be ravaging, just ready to just bite your face off. And they would know that the moment you feared it, it would just bite your face off. But if you didn't, you'd come out at a higher level. Do you know what I mean? Like, it gets to that point where it gets to life and death, where your allegiance is. Soul is eternal, but we're talking on
This
the
level.
levels.
Mhm.
The levels are so deep. If you knew what you had to go through, if you knew the suffering you had to go through, you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't. But if you knew what was on the other side of that suffering, you would do it. So there's a battle between fear and life. And it's a fine line.
Wow. Jeez. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Next time we'll have like a long course. But these are exercises. One worth pondering, but also worth doing, and giving ourselves. I think this is a place where we give ourselves the opportunity to experience what we're capable of. If there is no lack, other than our belief in it and our pattern of creating it, then just permitting ourselves to imagine without condition of all of the mitigating factors that we could normally or have normally been thinking of, and just let it be. And not just for one thing. We can just pick a few things and just keep practicing doing that, because they'll start showing up. Much of the things that we haven't experienced is in part due to that we haven't created it. So, or at least permitted ourselves to allow it to come all the way through.
Exactly.
Because if we've even conceived of it, we have created it.
Exactly.
So
it's amazing.
It is.
I'll tell you one thing is, when you start to work out of the heart and not give into fear and not even have that concept, the synchronicities in your life are one continuous synchronicity. Not little bits here and there. It's just one continual synchronicity of events that just builds upon each other. It's just magic, like real magic, 24 hours a day.
I'll take a dose of that.
Yeah, and it's more, as you release more fear and start to work and flow, it's just that time frame of how much you're in the flow of magic just expands.
So it's more in the practice of allowance now.
It's allowance.
It's
It's
acceptance too. It's the acceptance.
It's acceptance.
Yeah.
It's acceptance. It's also the practice of controlling your imagination,
Well,
like not buying into assumption on any level. Even things even the idea. Your name's Jeff, right? Even the idea that your name is Jeff,
Right.
you can't even believe
Well,
that.
it's a matter of taking thought for nothing.
Yeah.
It's basically what it is. And everything you need to know comes.
Yep. However, thought is there for you to use for your benefit. So.
Yeah, I like to separate thought and idea.
Yep. Yeah.
This idea is the reality.
Yep. Yeah, what's that? Yeah, I was taught years ago by certain books I read to imagine your thoughts and ideas and feelings like you are floating in a hot air balloon above the clouds, and all your thoughts are just like the jet stream, just and just watch it go by.
Yep.
Oh, okay, cool. Your ideas come up like little bubbles, and you can look at them, you can pop them, or whatever. Just don't attach to them. Just keep that barrier of separation there, and that way you're not reactive. You're just observing.
When you're doing the pure awareness.
Yeah, just observing, and practice makes perfect. Over time, you'll just become detached to the point where it's not a lot bothers you that much anymore. I mean, the odd thing will, like the old person, 9-year-old driving over a road. I gotta get to work quickly. That catches me sometimes. But I snap back and realize they're part of me, and I'm just frustrated at my own perceived lack of happiness. Of perceived getting at work late on time, and it's just all.
Hey, I've driven in Edmonton with you, so
roundabouts.
I've ridden in Edmonton with you.
He
So
knows firsthand.
yeah.
All those roundabouts.
Yeah, that's right. Traffic circles. Yeah, so it's life's funny. You can't take it too seriously. At the same time, you need to take it seriously. And again, there's so many paradoxes and conundrums. There's just that balance, and only you know the balance, and you got to find that balance. And that balance is truth. It's the Holy Spirit within you, and either your heart is there or it's not there. There's no in between.
I'll give you a quote.
Absolutely.
Life is love's divine adventure to be all in all. Really, that's what you
I like that. Yeah. All in all. Right. So you guys, I thank you so much for being here and really listening and paying attention.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
It's been
Absolutely.
wonderful.
All right. Thank you.